give me a thumbs up or something just to let me know. How are you guys feeling? Oh, I feel like it's been a while since we've been here together. All right, last month we did an embodied not identity. Oh, why did this escape me right now? Anyways, last month we did a immersion. So it was really, really fun. Okay. Can somebody write in the chat or just let me know that they can hear, and then I will be able to get started. And as usual, this is recorded so that if you want to take notes, you can. If you want to, okay, thanks, Shirley. Yay. So it's recorded. If you want to wait for the recording, you can as well. All right. So pleasure-led healing masterclass. What does it mean for you? What does pleasure mean for you? I want you to share that if you can. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about this healing journey I've been on for a few months and have moved through, and how I used getting back to pleasure, things that bring me pleasure, in order to help facilitate the process. So in the beginning of this year, from January till about June, I've been really outwardly focused, like creative, making new courses, doing new things. And something shifted in July. And I had to go back inwards and back into trying to figure out what was happening, what my body was trying to tell me. I was so focused externally that I did not pay enough attention internally. So what happened is I started to get some symptoms. My body was talking to me. I was having like irregular bleeding, and that's never any fun to experience. And we didn't know why. And from the work that we do here, I always know that when we have symptoms, my body's trying to talk to me. It's a clue for me to listen in, and it's an opportunity for me to learn more about myself or to try and lead myself through whatever this is. Now, it doesn't mean that you need to do everything alone, right? You can get support. I went to see my usual route. So I regularly see my chiropractor, massage therapist, naturopaths. Obviously, you know where I work. So Dr. Jessie and Dr. Marie. And then the somatic work, so internal work that I do on my own as well. Talking to myself, meditation. It sounds funny, talking to myself. Yes, I was communicating with my body and trying to figure out what else there were. So while I was turned inwards and also working on myself, I also sought various practitioners, health practitioners, and got imaging and all the things so that I could tend to myself, right? It's not we ignore our symptoms. It is we work our regular channels to see what's happening. And we also look at the physical, the emotional, mental, spiritual aspect of healing, what our body is trying to tell us. So we look at it from both angles. It's not that we ignore one or that we only do one. We look at it from all the different places. Because as I said, I didn't know what was causing the symptoms that I was experiencing. And so this started in July. And my energy shifted from focusing externally to inward. And some of the things that I realized is that when I placed my hands on my body, on the areas that I was experiencing the symptoms, like I usually teach, and when I breathed into it, I realized that I hadn't been having much joy or pleasure for myself. So it didn't mean that I'm not grateful for my life or have moments of joy. It's just a realization that I've been putting myself or my needs further back in the line of priority, and more focused on raising family and children or raising the kids. And that occurs. We have different stages, different aspects of what's going on. We try and balance as much as we need, but sometimes we're shifted out of that balance. And it didn't occur to me until then that I had shifted out of the balance. And as my kids are a little older and no longer needing minute-to-minute care, it allowed me to see that my priorities for myself had been going lower and lower. So that is one thing that when I turned inwards, I really realized. And so I had to look and see where in my life I could start to shift that back, because I needed more time for my healing and for my pleasure and for my joy. And so for me, I realized that, yes, the kids have activities. We do not even a lot. We do 2 activities for them, but it's for them. And then I didn't have any activities that I enjoyed doing. I used to go out to the gym all the time and have do a lot of reading. And that brought me great joy and learning. And that one I still do. But the reading was something that I really, really missed. And it's no wonder that the body chooses certain areas to bring about symptoms. So in the womb space, so in the pelvic area, it's a place of like creation, right? It's a space of creation. You create people from there, but you can also birth new ideas from there, and you can create new identities and new versions of yourself from there. And it was interesting to me to make the observation that when I'd put my creativities and my activities that brought me joy lower on the priority list, that was the space that I started to have some symptoms. And so it's always a good idea to take a look at where else is this coming from? What else is here? So as I said, the womb space, where we are created, creation. And something that came up to me was that I am responsible for my own pleasure. You are responsible for your own pleasure, because only you know what brings pleasure into your life, into your body and into your life. So if you don't know what brings you joy, what brings you pleasure, how are you going to express your needs even to somebody else, or your desires to somebody else? So you can't make somebody else responsible for your own pleasure. You need to know for yourself. Right? So I spent from July until October reconnecting with things that brought me pleasure and things that brought me joy. So like I said, I started to read books again. And just so you know, you can borrow a whole bunch of books on your library, from the library on your phone. So what's funny is, although my social media stuff minutes all went completely down, but my time spent on my device, because I was reading from it, not that I recommend that, because, anterior head carriage and everything. But my reading time on my phone had increased. All right, so we have a question from Shirley. Would love some tips on how to find pleasure when you have no energy being in cell danger response. Trying to live by my values, but find it so hard when I have no energy to do things. So you use the energy that you do have, and you focus on not having no energy, but having the energy that, and I know you already like to do this and you're really good at it, like with the gratitude, with the energy you have, where can you find pleasure and joy in the energy that you do have? Maybe sitting out in the sun is something that you enjoy, right? Maybe that brings you pleasure. Maybe feeling the warmth of the sun on your skin brings you pleasure. Maybe a warm bath brings you pleasure. Maybe a scented, essential oils bring you pleasure. Maybe for yourself, reading brings you pleasure. Maybe walking, whatever energy that you do have. Maybe just watching a funny movie for you. That's something that makes you laugh. Okay? It's a depressing time of year when everyone is out with family celebrations. Yeah, and you can't do that, for sure. And if the focus is on what I can't do, that's going to be the energy and the frequency that we tap into. It's not easy to shift because it's, it's programmed in you to see a certain way. I'm actually reading the book A Course in Miracles right now. And in the book A Course in Miracles by Marianne Williamson, they say a miracle is a shift in perspective. Because once you shift a perspective, have access to different energy, whether that be physical, emotional, mental, spiritual energy, different levels of consciousness that you may not have had before. Right? So if you can shift one little thing from I don't have any energy to with this energy that I do have right now, then you're already going from a place of lack to abundance. And with abundance brings more of the energy. Sorry, someone just tried to come into my room. I'm at the office, so that happens. Okay, hopefully that answers your questions. If you have any questions, just write them in the chat so that I can see them. But yes, focusing on what, even if it's just a little bit. When we talk about, I have some people who I coach on, they want to, let's say, increase their income or make more money. And they're like, but I don't have this, right? So then we focus on, okay, where do you have the abundance? If it's, you are able to go into a dollar store and you're able to buy something there and feel abundant because you can buy something there, then that is where you start with the abundance. Right? Maybe you're fortunate enough to be able to go to the grocery store and buy what you need. So you have an abundance there. Or maybe you love grapes and you can buy grapes, whatever it is that you can find a little bit of what you're looking for to grow it, then that's how you start to compound, just like compound interest, that's how you start to compound pleasure. And for me, touch is something that brings me pleasure. So if I wanted to, I just give myself a self massage if I can't get to see a massage therapist, right? Just trailing my hands down on my body makes me feel better. And so that is something simple for me that brings me pleasure. Or just getting a hug from somebody. Or hugging yourself. You can even do that too. So, like I said, you're responsible for your own pleasure. That's something that was key that I didn't realize or remember before. So from July to October, if you even look at my social media, I used to be on there all the time doing, and I still love doing that, but I pulled way back because internal energy, I was looking for healing. I was looking for to change the symptoms that were coming up. But I spent the time reconnecting to the pleasure, reconnecting to reading. Oh my gosh, I read so many books. Not even funny how many books I took out from the library. And then my body. I knew that if I was having a symptom from my body and my body was trying to talk to me, that I could examine areas in my life where I was not an energetic match for healing. So healing is our natural state, right? You cut your finger, you heal. Your body heals. You break a limb, your body tries to heal. And so how can we shift closer in alignment with healing? So if you are having thoughts of illness consciousness isn't going to get you towards healing consciousness. There are different levels. When you're like, I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't. Even though the circumstance might be that you can't in this moment, it doesn't mean it'll forever be that way. So again, a miracle is a shift in perspective. And actually, incidentally, for the whole month of December, we're going to be talking about miracles in the daily dose of healing. So that's what we're doing. All right. So July to October, spent time reconnecting with things that brought me pleasure. Like I said, I self-touch, massage, going back to see my chiro more often, reading the book. Oh, yes. I also, knowing my body, what I did, I realized I wasn't doing as much exercise as it requires. Before, when I didn't have kids, I was at the gym often and I enjoyed lifting weights. And so I took up something new. I started Muay Thai kickboxing, which I'd never done before. And it's so fun. I'm still doing that now. And it was a great way for me to move my body and feel stronger. So I added that as well. All the while, remember, I was still tending to myself. So I was getting testing done. I was going for imaging, and they had, it always takes months. So months later, still not found the cause. However, I believed I was healing. So I kept checking in with my body. What is it that you need right now in response to pleasure? Like, what's going to bring you more pleasure right now? Is it a walk in the woods? Is it a nap? Is it moving your body? Is it eating certain things? Is it having the rest? Is it having a conversation that you enjoy? Like, what kind of reading do you want to do? What do you want to listen to? It was really an opportunity that to go inwards to see what am I not giving myself? Where have I not been giving to myself? And because for me, this was in the womb space or in the pelvis where I was feeling my symptoms, I looked into the energetics of that, right? So physically, the energetics of the womb have to do with a reproductive power, right? On the biological level, we talked about this. Womb is the creation of life, embodying the potential for creation, nurturing, and it could be birthing a new idea, could be birthing a new business, it could be the birth of a new identity, right? It doesn't actually have to be a physical birth, and yet obviously that's also a space that occurs. Okay, for women, it is the menstrual cycle is there, right? That's the body's expression of cyclical nature, right? Different rhythms, different states, and it follows like the different phases of the moon and the different times in nature. We have different cycles within our body as well. So in the womb space, emotionally, we store emotions there, right? A lot of different spiritual traditions suggest that it could hold different emotional, energetic imprints related to relationships, intimacy, creativity, your expression of creativity. This comes from the Hindu traditions of, the chakra system, right? You can also release trauma or blockages in the area. So I was doing meditation, I was doing breath work and breathing into it. I was doing yoga for the hips and pelvis too. And so I wanted to approach that from the internal side, from where I could work. It's also the creativity, intuitive energy that's there, right? Intuition, sometimes in that area, well, in the area of the stomach, a little higher, but it's known as like the second heart or the seat of wisdom. There's also associated with intuitive knowing in many cultures, like you feel it in your gut space. It is a place for sacred feminine energy, okay? A center for feminine power, and this isn't male, female. In terms of energetics, we all have masculine and feminine energies that are within us, right? So a masculine energy would be action, taking action. So we all take action. So that would be more of a it does not mean male or female. It means that there is masculine energy towards. For feminine energy, it is seductive. It is leaning back. There are times in your life where you move forward. There are times where you lean back. Different types of energy at work. So yes, creativity, emotions, sensuality, these are all energies that are in the womb. So like I said, for me, I use different meditations, yoga, movement, breath work. And then I knew that, or I believed that the more that I healed my disconnection with what brought me pleasure and joy, the more healing I was having in this space. And by October, so these are all the things that I was doing throughout. If some of you are interested, let me know and I can speak out, like I can send you the meditation that I was doing or the meditation I created for that space. Anyways, I digress. Okay, but I'm only going to record it if you want to hear it and if you're working in that area. Okay, so then by October, I had one last appointment with the specialist, and I knew going in, I was like, everything is going to be okay. Everything is going to be fine. This is not happening anymore. I have healed this. And sure enough, I went in at the end of October and they were like, okay, Everything is fine. Every test came back normal. All these, and the symptoms had stopped too. As I was tapping into what brought me joy and remembering who I was, I knew I was on the right path because I had already spoken to my body and I was connecting to it and listening to it. This is what the message was saying. It took me a few months to get there, but I walked out of there and they're like, okay, no follow-up needed, nothing, everything is fine. Everything is great. And that is what I've been doing since July. So why does pleasure help with the nervous system? Because pleasure activates the parasympathetic nervous system, right? It signals safety for your brain. Sorry, I just saw something. Okay, your question. You love all these ideas. My question is how to fit all this in. How much time did you put aside daily to do this? So I didn't do it daily. Sometimes I meditated. Sometimes exercise is important for my body. So I do exercise daily, even if it's just 5 minutes. So I go to my kickboxing class 3-4 times a week. And then the other days, sometimes it's just a walk. Sometimes it's yoga. Sometimes it's a stretch. If I'm really tired, then it becomes a meditation. So it doesn't have to be all the time. Because I was reading from my phone, not recommending it, but I was able to, if you have an e-reader, I prefer that, but I do have my phone everywhere. So when I'm waiting for the kids at school to pick them up, I can read, right? Or I'm walking. So you use it to the little time that you do have. For exercise, I know when my kids were really young, like when I was nursing and I have 2 kids that are 18 months apart. So when they were like crying and all the things at the same time, then I would do my exercises when I went up and down the stairs. Let's say somebody needed, oh yes, you can do audible too. That actually works well to combine things. Like if you want to go for a walk and listen to it. I usually listen to training or podcasts when I'm walking or when I'm exercising. So yes, so thank you for the question, Melanie. I didn't do everything every single day. I did what I could when I could, but my reading came in the moments in between. So let's say I'm at the office and a patient canceled and I have 15 minutes. Great, it's something I can do then. I can read for the 15 minutes. If it was, if you're going exercise when the kids were young, I would do maybe like 5 squats at the bottom of the stairs, walk up the stairs, and then do 5 squats at the top of the stairs. And doing that multiple times a day, that really works your legs. And so you find it in that no extra time zone. And yes, if it's something that you really enjoy and something that brings you pleasure, then you make time for it by saying, what can I replace this with? Sometimes, so while I'm doing the laundry, that could be a time that I'm meditating because the laundry is just on, right? So find it in the times that you do have. We always find time expands and contracts, right? With our perception of it. That's a miracle as well, right? If you're waiting for something to happen and you're waiting and waiting, time seems to take forever, right? Tell a kid to wait for Christmas, right? My kids are already going crazy. 25 days or however many days, 22 days, seems like forever to them, right? And yet, if you have something that you don't want to do, like taxes coming up, then time changes again, right? Time moves slow and fast. Time is the relative piece. So yes. And if you find things that bring you pleasure and joy, then you will want to do them more often. And you will compound the pleasure and joy, and you will bring the pleasure and joy into the things even that you don't enjoy, because there's just more of what you have. You experience more of what you have. So when you talk about pleasure, things that feel good to you, like I said, even just a self-massage, even if I'm standing in the shower, I can massage myself, right? I can rub my hair. I love getting my hair pulled and, rubbed by, so I do that for myself. It activates the parasympathetic nervous system. And it also, pleasure brings safety to your brain. It signals safety. And so it releases different hormones too. So when you have engage in enjoyable things that you love, it shifts the nervous system from the sympathetic to the parasympathetic. And in the parasympathetic state, your body has a chance, more of a chance to rest, repair, and recover. Right? So laughing, things that make you giggle, right? How can you not have time for something that makes you laugh? Tickle a kid, they giggle a lot, or mine do. And it will release different hormones for you and different feel-good neurochemicals like the dopamine, the endorphins, the hormones that bring you pleasure, and that'll create more feelings of the happiness and the calm, right? We all know the stress has the cortisol and all the adrenaline and all the not so fun things, but the pleasure will help you drop back in to the parasympathetic nervous system. Okay? So when you're saying, how can I fit this in? Because I am already doing too much, that probably means you've already activated, you're not in the parasympathetic nervous system. Right? So tapping into the pleasure will actually help you go back into the healing, the rest that you desire. Okay. So there's an identity to pleasure as well. When you focus on things that bring you pleasure, you create a different identity to you. So when I was creating my pleasure identity in the last few months, there was a different version of me that was when I was, as opposed to when I was focused on everybody else, right? And that didn't bring me, not that there weren't moments of joy, right? I'm just saying that didn't bring me as much joy or as much pleasure. And when we think of changing our identity, it isn't that fake it till you make it, right? It is tapping into what's already inside of you. So that's why I went in first. I was talking to my body. What is it that you need? You tap into what's already there or what you want to bring out. And so we want to activate an energy that is already within you, already inside of you. I'm just checking on comments. All right. So it's tapping into a part of who you already are. It might be dormant or it might not have been forgotten. Like for me, reading had been forgotten. I didn't even remember that I enjoyed reading so much. And then when I look back at different parts of my life, I know that books have always been in it. So going back to that. So when you're tapping into pleasure, it might feel like foreign to you. You might be like, what? How do I even do that? Right? So what you can do as a practical tip is like pretend as in you're a scientific experiment. How can I bring out the most pleasurable side of me? And do this while you're doing everything. So like, how much pleasure can I have eating whatever, my lunch? How much pleasure can I have watching this show? How much, like if I was the most, pleasurable version of who I was, what would that look like? And even go over the top just to tap into a new energy. Because again, the new energy that you tap into, the new perception is a miracle. And it will allow you to tap. You might not be that wild out there, and yet you could be further along the spectrum than where you are right now. Okay. For example, let's say your sensuality. You might be like, oh, I just had kids. It's been so long since I even thought about that. Or your magnetism or trying to attract, right? How can you bring the most, what can you wear? How can you walk? What can you eat? Like maybe chocolates and strawberries makes your mouth water or whatever it is. But tap into that energy that you haven't been able to, because that'll bring out another side of who you are, another identity that may be locked away or be being needed to be released. Okay, so when it's not, we fake pleasure until we make it, right? That usually doesn't work out well. So it is, how do we tap into what's already within us, even though it might be dormant in a small quantity or even locked away for the moment. And another way that you can do it other than focusing internally is externally. So let's say we were talking about sensuality and you ask yourself, okay, what actor, what actress, like what is someone who embodies that? So let's say for me, I don't know, Angelina Jolie, okay? So what is it about her that brings that up? And then if I can see that in her, that energy in her, what is it about me that resonates with that? And can I draw that out of me? Maybe, like I said, it's the way she dresses, or the way she moves, or the look she gives in her eyes. I'm just making it up right now, but what part of that resonates within me? Because you see it in them, because you can see it in you, because you have it in you. So everybody outside is the mirror of reflecting back at you. And so when you see something that you enjoy, something that brings you pleasure, something that you really like, what is it about that it's reflecting in you? Right? Even though I say I love reading, what types of books do I love to read? I do my personal growth books. I love wealth and business. I love all the different things. What does it show me about me? Oh, I like growth. Okay, I value learning. Learning is high on my values priorities list. And it brings me pleasure. I love aha moments. They're my favorite, like my own and others. I love having my own aha moments. I love other people getting aha moments in my presence. And so nothing brings me more joy than that. And so I know that needs to be a part of my life. Okay? So if you see it in somebody else, something about them that you go, oh, I'd really like to experience that or to feel that, then you ask yourself, where can I bring it out into me? Just for play, for fun, for just because you can. Maybe you wear a dress that you haven't worn in a long time. Maybe you style your hair in a way. Maybe you put makeup on, whatever, right? Find the most magnetic, sensual, playful version of who's possible. Right? In one of my classes that I took, one of our mentors asked us to do, so you can do this as your homework if you like. So we were talking about sensuality. And so what they wanted you to do was we had to film ourselves, do it in whatever we wanted to, and then record it and address it in the group. We were doing this in the context of business. So creating I don't like to use the word pitch, but creating an offer, and then the way that you would speak about it is in the most like magnetic and sensual voice that you could. So, people went over the top and lots of fun, but in a way that the next time you did it, not for your friends, but for, let's say I was filming something, then it would just bring out that little extra different energy because I put my focus and attention on bringing in magnetism into that aspect of whatever it is I was talking about. Remember that it's not what you're doing, it's who you're being while you're doing. Okay, so it's who you are, which version of you is showing up. That's why different strategies don't always work. Strategies don't always work the same for the person, because the person behind the strategy is different. The version of you who's saying the words are different. Somebody can say the same words, but because of who they are, it lands in another way. I know that with my partner and myself, we've played this game where like, okay, you say these words to these same people and I'll say the words to the same people, and they take it completely differently because we're different people, but we're being different while we're saying it. So you can say the same thing and people can hear it differently because of who you are. And so if you bring in another identity, a different version of yourself, the more pleasurable, the more fun, the more joyous version of yourself, while you are doing all the things that you're doing, wouldn't that bring about a different energy in who you are and who you attract? Because that changes who you are. And then your frequency changes what you bring about and what you attract to the world. And that is a miracle. So we're doing miracles here. Yay, that's fun. I can't believe we're talking about miracles in pleasure, but that happens. Only because we've been doing training already for 3 days on miracles. So you don't have to film yourself, but look in the mirror, like, and see who you are. Play with like different faces on your face and different ways to walk. Like, you know, how would the most confident version of you show up? How would the most crazy, how would the most fun, how would the most over the top like version of you show up? And if that brings you joy, or if you unlock another aspect of who you are, bring it. It all brings you to the next level of who you want to be. All gets you closer. When we're talking about the energetics of pleasure, the feminine energy, the approach to pleasure, is rooted in receiving and in presence, right? So it allows us, it invites us, like, slow down, tune into your senses, savor the moment. Like this, the feminine energy behind pleasure, it's not something that we earn or achieve. It's something that we allow to happen. So when at the beginning of the year, when I was telling you I was doing, go, 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 that was in masculine energetics. It was masculine energy. And there's nothing wrong with it. We've got both. And then I needed that period to shift more into the feminine energetics, into the pleasure, into the joy, into the slowing down, tuning into the body and into the senses, in savoring and in allowing. And so now on the other side, I get the emergence of the next version of who I am, which is a combination of the two. It's to bring the masculine and the feminine energetics into what we do. So in terms of pleasure, some of the things from the feminine aspect of pleasure is sensuality instead of productivity. So valuing the process over the final outcome. Right? Finding joy in the details. Again, the warmth of the sun on your skin, the taste of the ripe strawberry, the taste of a sour strawberry, the sound of laughter, right? Being in the moment, surrender, trust. Those are words from the feminine energetic side. Letting go of control, faith, right? Spontaneity, right? Imperfect. Vulnerability, authenticity, right? Creation, play, dancing, painting, singing, whatever, daydreaming. Daydreaming also brings me joy. I've been daydreaming since I was a kid. So what about the masculine energetics of pleasure? Let's go into that. So masculine energetics approach to pleasure is about intention and action, right? There's creation there, and also there's protection, safety, right? Structure, purpose, like what is the purpose of this? Direction, accomplishment, goal-oriented. That's the masculine energy. See how we need both of them? We need to have, we get a destination, and then we also get to enjoy the journey. The destination being the masculine energy, the feminine energy being enjoying the process. Wow, both contain, we have both the dualities contained within us. So masculine energy, goals, challenges, you know, let's make the perfect meal, let's excel at a sport, let's, you know, plan a date. Let's structure needed, let's create the structure for the pleasure, right? So let's say in my martial arts class, the structure is, there is actual structure of these are the times that I can go to class where I will get instruction, right? That is needed. And then the feminine is the pleasure in terms of how my body will respond. I tried what's called, so I tried something called sparring, which I never thought I would do. And it means you put this gear on and then you try and fight somebody, which I've never done. And it was very interesting to see how I would respond, because most of the time, I'm trying to heal people from injuries and not trying to cause them injuries. And I also found out there is, you still bring who you are into what you do, no matter what you're doing. So I hit somebody not accidentally, but I hit them on purpose, but I didn't do it in the way that I wanted to. So I said like oopsies, and they're like, you don't say oopsies, when you're trying to punch somebody. Anyways, it was just interesting that you would bring who you are into everything that you do. So it's about who you are while you are doing what you do. And no one does it the way that you do. Even in something more masculine oriented, like as in, fighting somebody. So I have boxing gloves and shin pads and everything. Like I've got dinosaur stickers on my shin guards. It is just who I am. It is part of who I am. So bring who you are into what you're doing. Sorry, I digress. Masculine energetics in pleasure. Protection, providing, providership, right? Whether that be physical, emotional, material, the act of the giving, right? Which we all know giving can be so much fun and just as much fun as receiving. I always talk about my kids, but when I'm giving them a present, they get just so excited. Like I am excited for Christmas because I get to see how excited they are going to be when they receive a present. And doesn't have to be big. Like going to the dollar store is their favorite thing. They always like, if you ask them, where do you want to go? They're like, the dollar store. And you're like, really? Yeah, you can go to Toys R Us. We want the dollar store. So giving can be just as much fun as receiving. So in the giving end is the masculine, and the receiving is the feminine energetics. Both needed. Problem solving, reaching a milestone, that's the masculine energetics. So the dance is, how do we dance between the two? How do we hold the polarity and the duality of both energies? Because both energies are required. And that's when we harmonize, right? The feminine invites you to feel and to flow, and the masculine energy is the container that allows you to direct the energy. Together, we have the coherence. So even in something as simple as like making a meal, the feminine energy is there to be creative, experiment with different flavors. The masculine energy ensures that it's organized and the meal actually gets served, right? In creating, let's say, an art project, the feminine explores the ideas, the inspiration. The masculine energy creates the framework to bring those ideas into life. So we want to have a balance of the two. Are you balanced in your body currently? Are you balanced in your life? Are there other areas where you need to bring in more masculine energy? Are there other areas that you need to bring in more feminine energy, more pleasure? You get to examine yourself and see, where would you like to focus? And you don't have to focus it all at once, right? Just see for you where you're being called to next. What is coming up next for you? So if you have too much of the masculine energetics, it shows up in burnout, in overachievement, in rigidity, feeling disconnected from your emotions, especially like joy. Overemphasis on the feminine energy side, you could feel ungrounded, like flighty, indecisive, or overwhelmed by our emotions. So working with both of them. It's not choosing one over the other. It's about embracing the strength of both sides of the energy. All right. So today we talked about pleasure and how you can heal. We talked about the womb space, but also about how pleasure helps our nervous system, how we can bring about pleasure in our different identities, or bring out our pleasure identity, our sensual identity, our magnetic identity, fun, playful. And then we talked about the energetics of pleasure in terms of the masculine and the feminine, and how both sides are in everyone, and that both sides are needed. And then we talked about what comes up that if you have an overemphasis on a masculine or feminine energy. So when you look at the different areas of your life that you want to bring more pleasure to, then see, am I feeling burnt out? Am I feeling like disconnected from joy? Where am I feeling overwhelmed? Where am I feeling ungrounded? Where are there too many emotions that I'm experiencing right now? That will point you in the direction of where the work gets to be done, that your next step is called for. Are there any questions? If there are, you can go ahead and type it in. Next month in July, it's going to be another immersion. Oh, I don't think I've announced it yet. We're going to be doing embodied leadership, and leadership from a place of a leader is one who leads themselves. You lead yourself first before we lead others. And I thought that would be great for January, because leading yourself also means, like, how is it that let's say I create a diet and I follow it. I lead myself to follow it. I have a plan for working out and I follow it. How do you lead yourself to doing that? How do you regain the trust that you have within yourself? Because if you don't trust, so let's say every time we say, we're going to do this, we're going to go exercise, we're going to go there, and we don't do it. It's not one time that it breaks trust with your body, right? It's overdoing it years and years and years and years, saying, I'm going to do this and I don't. I'm going to do that and I don't. Right? I'm going to stand up for myself and I don't. I'm going to say the thing that's bothering me and I don't. Right? So then your body doesn't believe you. So when you say, hey, body, we're going to heal from this, it goes, I don't believe you. Right? So Melanie says, I struggle with chronic procrastination. So that would be embodied leadership, leading yourself would be a great one for you to get into, because we talk about how we lead ourselves through. And yes, if you enjoyed this, let us know. Let me know if there's any other topics you want to talk about. As I said, I have a membership called the Daily Dose of Healing, and December is the month of miracles. We do training every single day in there. You get a voice message that you can listen to whenever you feel like it. And for 30 days, we talk, or the whole month, we do a different theme. So this month is about pleasure, not pleasure, about miracles. So the whole month we're going to be talking about creating miracles. And that's it. That's all I have. So we will see you the next masterclass will probably be in February, because the immersion will be in January. Maybe we'll do it at the end. We'll see. Thank you very much for coming. And if you are watching on the replay, thank you very much. Happy holidays, whatever it is that you're celebrating. Happy New Year, all the things. And I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye.